I said, something's completely wrong. This is not the terrain I expect. The way you don't get lost is you go back the way you came. Bear, no bear, you turn around. As soon as I turned around, he was coming at me on full steam charge.
How big was this bear?
About 350 pounds, I would estimate. And they're not a real big black bear, but substantial. So the way you fire a bow is you're standing sideways, right? With my left leg is forward, that's your lead leg. And he hit that leg at full steam like a Buick and snapped my front leg.
This is the Liberty Report with Sheliah Mitchell interviewing Bill Donahue.
Hello.
Bill, welcome
Thank
to the
you.
Liberty Report. I was walking out of this wonderful event, the Bards event, and Michael Hamilton, this famous lawyer that's representing the frontline doctors, he says, you got to go in and find the man that fought the bear. So here you are. Tell us the story about fighting a bear.
Okay. Do you want me to hold it? Are you good?
I'll hold it for you.
All right. So, yeah, I never expected to be interviewed at Bards Fest. I am definitely not famous at all. But I've hunted my entire life. And we were doing an archery hunt in Colorado near the New Mexico border. And my wife, who has a little bit of sense of the future, asked me, are you going to carry a sidearm? And I said, it's illegal during archery season in Colorado to carry a sidearm. She says, what about bears? I said, there are no grizzlies in southern Colorado. There are only black bears. I've seen hundreds in the wild. They are not aggressive animals. You can be stupid and get between a mother and a cub, but if you're halfway rational, bears are just not, black bears are not aggressive. They don't want to be around you. So she accepted that, and then I went hunting, and I was with my two son-in-laws that are married to two of my daughters, right? And we're up there hunting, and it was so hot. I was in summer camo. It's late September, but even at 10,000 feet, it was 80 degrees. I mean, it was just murderously hot making hunting.
What year was this?
About 8 years ago, so what's that,
That's okay.
in that range. And so we're up hunting, and I have all the survival training. I'm supposed to take care of them, right? You know, this is it. And we had not seen or heard an elk or anything, and I had gone back to the truck because it had rained a little in the morning. I was in a poncho, and I took the poncho off because now it was hot, and I thought, let me just leave it here. I hung it on the mirror, and I heard an elk bugle to my left, so I walked that direction.
Now, let's be clear, an elk bugle?
Bugle, oh, it's a noise they make, and it's a really beautiful sound. They are not quiet animals out there in the wild. You know, they make a lot of noise. So he made a bugling sound. I started walking around, so I'm basically circling the mountain, you know, in the direction. And then I was listening for him, and he came running through the brush, and some other archer had shot him with a very bad arrow shot, so he was shot through the guts. It's not an accurate shot. He will eventually die, but he's going to suffer. It was almost sundown, and I thought, I'll wait for that hunter to show up here. I watched where the elk went. I figured he probably laid down once he was out of sight of me, and that I'd help him find the elk and at least put him. I waited till sundown happened. No hunter arrived. I started following the blood trail to go put the elk out of his misery. I looked over my shoulder. There was a black bear. So I figured he's on the same blood trail I am. He can have the elk. I found a logging road that turned off to my left as I was going uphill, which should have continued around the mountain and brought me back to my starting point, right? I'm walking down the logging trail, figuring he's going up the hill on the blood trail. I turned around again, and he's on the logging trail behind me, probably 100 yards. I clapped at him and yelled, and he ran up the hill just like black bears should do, right? And that was fine, and then I continued down the logging road, and I looked kind of up over my shoulder on the mountain, and he was at a position 45 degrees behind me and uphill. That's an aggressive, that's attack mode, okay? That's not a good position. This time, I threw a stick at him, I yelled at him, and he ran away again, but I put an arrow in my bow. It had it at the ready, not drawn, but ready to go. And I'm firing a compound bow, which it's not as easy to quick fire a compound bow as you have traditional bows, right? And I'm walking down the road just carrying my bow and arrow, and the road ended, and it should not have ended. And I thought, well, I'll push through the woods a little bit.
Hi there. Just one second. Let me take a pause.
American Patriots, this is Liberty Report. I'm Bert Rapport, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for supporting the channel, subscribing, watching, listening. It's you that will win our country back. Please help out a true patriot, Mike Lindell, at the same time helping out Liberty Report, My Pillow Code, God Wins, up to 66% off. I think they have some even higher than that percentages off for the holiday. But go ahead, do some shopping, support some patriots. Let's win back this country. My Pillow Code, God Wins. Share the truth. God bless.
We're going to go back. Okay, you're going to talk about the compound bow.
Okay, so a compound bow is easier to fire, but it's not as reaction shooting. Like traditional bow, you can pull and fire instantly. A compound bow has a trigger that you wear, and it takes a little bit more to get ready. So I had the arrow in it, and I had the trigger attached, and I was ready to fire it. I got the road ended before I expected it. It did not get me back to the road that we were parked on, and I thought I'd push through the woods. I got to be close. I'm sure I'm close to that road, and I pushed through the woods a little. I walked into a meadow. I said, something's completely wrong. This is not the terrain I expect. The way you don't get lost is you go back the way you came. Bear, no bear, you turn around. As soon as I turned around, he was coming at me on full steam charge.
How big was this bear?
About 350 pounds, I would estimate. And they're not a real big black bear, but substantial. So the way you fire a bow is you're standing sideways, right? With my left leg is forward. That's your lead leg. And he hit that leg at full steam like a Buick and snapped my front leg. So I had got an arrow in him before he hit me. He was dead. He had no idea he was dead, and he'll be dead in a few minutes. But I mean, I clearly took his heart out with the first arrow, with the only arrow I got into him. He landed on top of me. I shoved my bow in his mouth so he could not bite me with his teeth, and that left him to just flail at me with his claws. And I drew my knife and just kept flailing, stabbing him in every place I could think of to make him die. And then...
was that hard to get through that bear skin?
No, I have a good knife, and it went through. But it's a... I lost count of how many times I stabbed him, but it was many times. I mean, I was just...
You were fighting to save your life.
Yeah, it was fight or die. There's no bravery here. I was scared to death, right? You know?
Right.
So I got myself out from underneath the bear, and I thought, okay, I'm going to need help. Let me use my radio. And guess what? The radio's in the poncho hanging on the side of the truck. I had left it back.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I went, oh my God, I have no way to communicate. I have a broken leg. You know, I am bleeding out of 100 different minor wounds from claw marks. You know?
Are you praying?
I don't know if prayer went right through my mind. It was, I'm pretty good in the moment dealing with the things. It's after you have time to think about it, you get down and pray. I knew I had to get away from the dead animal, right? I have to get, you know, I'm bait now. I'm absolute bait, and that bleeding animal is going to attract every predator on that mountain.
And how is that left leg?
Well, the left leg is broken. When I stood up, it said, and it broke at the knee. So it's basically ligaments and cartilage that's all torn. But I thought, well, I'll walk back out. And my leg said, no, you're not walking. So I kind of hobbled about 100 yards away. And here comes the rain again. Oh, fun. I'm now soaking wet from the meadow, which is all wet. I have his blood on me, my blood on me. And now it's raining. I'm thinking, really, thank you, God. This is like, you got any more you want to throw here? No. So I have, like I said, I have survival training. I make firewood sticks. I have lighters in my pack, my bag. I could not make anything burn. I bandaged all the wounds that were bleeding.
It was a heavy rain.
It was, I was underneath I used a space blanket, like a lean-to, which is, space blanket's like a big piece of tin foil, flexible. And I put a lean-to up, and I was lighting it. I just couldn't make anything stay lit. The sun is down. The temperature is dropping like a rock. I'm wet. I'm going to die from exposure if I can't get fire. There was just no way that not the wounds from the bear, but I needed to be warm. That was not going to happen. So as this happened, the rain stopped again. Thank you, Jesus. The moon came out, and in the light of the moon, I seen a path going out of the meadow in the general direction of the Rio Grande River where I knew it would be. And I thought,
by the light of that silvery moon,
honest to God, I said, I think I can splint my leg, and I'm going to walk down that hill. I don't know that I can go uphill, but I believe I can walk down that path. There should be people camping or other hunters along the river, and I'm going to get some help, right? So I splinted. Little did I know, it was 13 miles from that meadow down to where I found the campers. I'm carrying a broken bow because he bit it in half in one hand, my knife in the other hand. I turned the space blanket into a poncho to wear. Head wounds bleed, even minor head wounds. It's just they're pouring blood. So I got a thing that looks like tinfoil covered in my blood. I'm sure I look like a hot mess walking into this camp. And it's well into the night. These guys are sleeping, and I walked in their campsite and I said, does anybody in here have a phone? If you do, can you call the police and tell them Bill Donahue just walked into your camp and I'm alive? They looked their head out and they said, we have a car. We're going to give you a ride, right? So they drove me off the mountain. Back to our cabin where I got in a hot shower because the hyperthermia was now my most critical issue.
What was the temperature outside?
It had dropped to about 40 degrees, but soaking wet 40 will freeze you, and it was going down, right? You know, and I could feel my body was already having reactions to being that cold for that long and that wet. I got in the shower. Then back at the cabin, I had a more sophisticated first aid kit. I dealt with the wounds better. They contacted my son-in-laws who hadn't been up on the mountain looking and that. And they came back to the cabin, and they started packing up to go home. And I said, what are you doing? And they said, our hunt's over. You need medical attention. We're going home. I said, oh, no, and light comes up. We're going out. I'm going to find that bear. I want his skin, right?
Oh, no.
So I said,
you didn't.
You got a quad. Yeah, let me tell you. They had called my wife and my daughters, and my daughter said, if you don't come home without my dad, right? You come home without my dad, don't come home kind of issue. And my wife had been crying all night, everything. And I didn't tell her I was going back out for the bear. And we've been married 44 years. She's never swore at me in our entire marriage. But sometime during that night, she met a sailor because she learns drop some F-bombs, and you are effing out of control. And I have been crying all effing night, and you're doing this. And I mean, she just bombing me. When I got that on the voicemail on my phone, because we don't have signal. I mean, I'm out in the middle of nowhere, but the signal came in. I got that message. We stopped looking for the bear because I said, probably not your best decision ever. But I was still splinted in riding on the back of the quad. But everything started looking the same, right? You know, it's like same or different. I walked out in the dark, disoriented and bleeding, and trying to track myself back up there. I was unable to find the bear skin, but I wanted that bad. You know, I said, I beat this bear. I want his skin on my wall. And but I wasn't able to do it. And that's the bear story, but it's...
And did you have a knee replacement because of this?
Well, I had 3 previous surgeries. In December, this last December, I replaced both knees. And so I'm walking on 2 metal knees, but they don't want to do knee replacements until you're older because they only last 20 years. And they said, you're too young for a replacement. So they kept trying arthroscopic surgeries and fix my leg. But
where was the point in time when you started praying? Because Michael Hamilton was saying, boy, he loves Jesus.
He does. I started praying as soon as the bear was dead, right? It was like, and now I need, you get a moment to focus on it. This is muscle memory, right? You know, the attack and the fight from the bear, it's just, you know what to do. Your body takes over. It's not thinking, it's instinct. And any soldier will tell you this, you're not thinking about what's going on. You have training that just comes in and takes over.
So how long did it take you to heal? Still healing?
The healing from the scars, or I mean, the knee was. I walked on a bad knee for 8 years, and Even each surgery improved it some, but
How many surgeries?
4 on that knee, counting a knee replacement, and then I had my right leg was my other problem knee, and I had several on that leg, so they opted to replace them both in December. So I had two. I now have 2 new joints.
And how are you healing? You feeling good?
I feel good. The right knee is not as functional as the left knee, but the left knee is in real good shape, and the one that the bear destroyed is pretty healed. The only thing that happened after that is connected to Bear Story is the movie The Revenant came on, and I was watching it on TV, and I was laying in bed, and my heart was pounding like crazy, and just, you're reliving it. My wife came in, and she goes, "You're reliving that night." I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Why don't you turn it off?" I said, "Because this is my fear, and I'm going to face it." Right? You don't.
It's like therapy.
It is. It was, but it definitely. Every scene in that movie was like just bringing it home. You remember every moment of that night.
That DiCaprio, he's quite an actor, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was it really real, huh?
It really is real. Now, that was a grizzly in that movie. And, people ask me, was it a grizzly bear or a black bear? And I said, if it was a grizzly, my son-in-laws would have to tell you the story, right? You don't generally, there are people that have survived grizzly attacks, but not often. I mean, they're much bigger, much stronger bear,
Well, I'm glad you survived, Bill Donahue, and I'm glad you said your faith has increased since this event.
Oh, yeah, my faith in Jesus has been solid. I've been teaching the Bible for 40-something years. That wasn't changed, except for the ability to know God's going to take care of me. He provided a way, and I've seen it on other occasions, like the rain stopping and the moon coming out, and right over where the path was out of the meadow. That was kind of, there's no coincidence.
That's
right?
Divine intervention.
Exactly, right? And I'd seen that before. When my kids were little, I used to take the schools out on outdoor education and do that. And we had taken a bunch of 8th graders out, and some of them got separated. I went back and got that group off the mountain and left the teacher with the group that was down, and we brought it back down. And when I was taking them on the most treacherous part of the trail, the full moon came out and lit it up like it was a street light. And I thought, there's another example where God said, no, you need help. Here it is.
Well, do you feel God's going to intervene in all this tyranny and like a twilight zone we're living in? I'm glad to see your face without a mask.
Right. Well, I hope God's going to do something. I'm hoping people really repent and bring us back to where God will heal this nation. My biggest worry is I read the back of the book and I don't see the United States there, so that doesn't give me a lot of confidence. It all depends on how close to that period we are, and if a lot of people think we're very close, then it doesn't look good for our country. But I'm hoping that he does let us come back, and I'm hoping that events like this, and like I'm with a Cloud Hub shirt. Cloud Hub's a social media platform.
Oh, it's called. This is your company.
Well, it's not my company. I'm actually not even an employee. I'm here because I believe in free speech, and this company is set up by an American from California, businessman, who has invested his money. He bought his own servers so they can't shut it down. He's not connected to AWS.
What's his name? I got to meet him.
Jeff Brain is an amazing man.
Jeff, and how do you spell the last name?
Brain, like your brain in your head.
Like your brain,
yeah.
Okay.
And he bought his own servers. He's not connected to AWS or Google, so they can't shut him down like they did Parler. He's very much into internet security. If you do a validated account and prove who you are and show your ID, they destroy your ID as soon as they've validated who you are, so they don't store it. They don't collect data on you. This event was live cast on our meetings program. Under the meetings function, you can have 100,000 of your closest friends in a meeting. And so that's how we broadcast this in the meetings. And people in your meeting can press a button and raise their hand. And you, as the organizer of the meeting, can either activate their mic or their mic in their camera and bring them into the live stream. They can ask their questions, interact, and then you can move them back to the audience. So,
well, I want to meet Jeff Brain. I'm telling you, how long has he had this Cloud Hub?
Well, he's been building it. He started building it before this all went crazy, but since
The pandemic.
yeah, the pandemic, and he started building it thinking it was needed, but then after January 6th, when they Twitter torched everybody's account, and then Facebook started labeling everything untrue, and YouTube censors. My friend Michael Beatty, people online don't know him as Miguel California, is a prolific songwriter. He played here last night. He wrote 107 MAGA tunes in 2020. I'm saying prolific.
Really talented.
Super talented. He remade the Battle Hymn of the Republic with the words, put it on YouTube, and he took it down as hate speech. The Battle Hymn of the Republic.
No.
Yes. So he objected and said it was written by an abolitionist. It's not hate speech. It's from the 1800s, and they overruled.
Tell me his name again, Beatty.
Michael Beatty, Beatty, and like I said, everybody online that's in any kind of chat, Cloud Hub, D Live, Foxhole, anybody who's going to know him as Miguel California. And then he has a website called AmericanMagaMusic.com.
American
MAGA.
MAGA, M-A-G-A.
Yeah.
Music.com.
Music.com. He gives away all his music. You can download it for free.
We'll have to put it in our documentaries and our major motion pictures we're going to be producing.
So he doesn't work for Cloud Hub either, but we both believe in free speech. We believe in what Jeff Brain's doing, and we said, let us help you. So this is like crowdsourcing of getting it out there, because we're going to be able to do this. And what Scott was describing outside right now is he had Jeff Brain in a meeting right now, and he had an idea to take groups and have multi-layers groups. And he wants to be able to do that county by county operation, have a national one, a subgroup for each state, and then subgroups for the counties, and be able to disseminate all that information through there and have virtual meetings instead of having to raise and do this. We could do Bards Fest, mini Bards Fest all over this country. We can bring people together electronically at a lot less cost and distribute what we know are factual information. There's a lot of misinformation being spread out there, and it's really hard. And a lot of people who have fake internet accounts, right? I mean, there's how many people that claim to be General Flynn online, right? You know, there's one General Flynn, and there's about 30 accounts that claim to be him, right? So that kind of ability to control and spread out information that you know is factual and help people learn. They go, I want to run for city council. What do I need to know, right?
Well, I have your contact information, and how do we get a hold of Jeff Brain?
He's Jeff at CloudHub.com.
Jeff at Cloud. Okay,
Yeah,
tell the world, right?
Yeah, so he's there. And then my connection to Cloud Hub, other than believing in it, I do a podcast on Monday and Wednesday called Discerning Truths.
Monday and Wednesday.
Monday, Wednesday, noon Pacific time. Sorry, I'm from California. And there's a lot of podcasters talk about different issues, you know, Q this or whatever. And that's not my field of knowledge. But theology, philosophy, and history.
How about survival?
Well, survival I know, but I don't do that on the podcast. There's a lot of misinformation being spread on the areas that I have a lot of education. And I said, I think I can come out here and separate truth from error and help people, because there are people, and I don't name names, but I'm just telling you, there was a guy that was doing podcasts on aliens before Q ever came out. And then when Q came out, suddenly he was a Q expert. Q quit making drops, and now he's talking about theology. And I went, okay, this is the problem. And he was being interviewed by a nice woman like you that asked him about Lilith. And I thought my ears perked up, because I'm familiar with the Babylonian and Hebrew myth about Lilith. And he told him it was a lizard alien person that had sex with Adam. And I thought,
goodness gracious.
You know, you could do a 15-minute Google search and know more about this subject than this guy knows. And he's presenting himself as a expert. And the poor lady just was like nodding her head like, well, he's an expert, he must know.
We can always delete this as we're editing.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm talking about what she was thinking.
Yeah, I don't know, but she just let him go on. I said, nobody's challenging these people. I'll challenge them, and I can do it and talk about ideas instead of the people, and that's why I don't.
Debate needs to come back.
I love discussion more than debate. The purpose of a debate is to win, and the purpose of a discussion is for me to understand your ideas better and you to understand mine. We want to have discussion. We lost that art in this country.
Well, I wouldn't even want to have a conversation with Fauci, but I'd love to see him lose another debate.
Yeah. Well, just because I don't like it doesn't mean I can't do it, right? You know, when we were at the Clay Clark event in Tampa, this guy came down into our group that we were hanging out on with the frontline doctors on the patio of our hotel, and it was 2 o'clock in the morning. I mean, we were up very late. He had his Harvard shirt, came down with his arrogant attitude about what he knew. Poor Thomas Renz looked like he was bleeding out of his eyeballs, you know, just exhausted, that lawyer. And so this Harvard guy went to like attack him. And I told Tom, I go, just relax. I got this. And I said, you know, you want to debate? I can debate you. I can make you feel stupid, but that's not my goal normally. When you come in arrogant like that, and you're going to try to pick on somebody.
That's a very high consciousness. That's wonderful. That's a very high calling.
Well, thank you. It's just, you know.
It's really discussion.
Discussion's better. We ought to be able to discuss things. We used to be able to talk and have different ideas in this country. Now only one idea is allowed at a time. Whatever the ruling party decides is okay, that's what we can talk about. You can't even have different suggestions.
Well, we're going to change that. We're going to have win-win, and we're going to be celebrating that we are on the right side of history, and good things are going to start happening with faith and the people coming together.
Well, I'm not going to see Jesus and tell him I did nothing when this happened. You know, I mean, I'm not facing him and say, I didn't do everything that I could possibly do. And that's why we're here. And I'm saying, you know, whatever little bit of help my podcast does or being at events like this does.
Discerning Truth. Bill at Discerning Truth.
Yeah, well, that's an email, bill@discerningtruths.com. But Discerning Truths is the name of the program. It's channel 217 on Cloud Hub. And there you go. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, Bill, thank you so much for letting us interview you. And I'm glad you got interviewed on Bards Fest. And I'm sure it's the first of many more because you're on the front lines with us. And God bless you. May all your prayers be answered and your dreams come true. And God,
thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Bill.
All right.
We'll be in touch.
Blessing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Liberty Report, and all the team here. Love you. Bless you, and may all your prayers be answered.